We also learned that you need to take time to do things right and to trust your gut. We learned that it's okay to request for securities to protect your municipality. This is a complex and costly practice for a municipality to monitor. There are standards regarding the soil standards, the requirement for regular project meetings between parties, townships' access to the site, and data relating to source sites, their address and the owner, the total fill received, the list of the complaints, and the results of the soil and groundwater tests. The contract also deals with a methodology to deal with dispute resolution, to deal with securities, the liability and insurance matters, and to deal with the cost, the fee per load. The lessons that we learned and acted upon have turned our role from reactionary to significantly more proactive. And if you ever have a situation where someone plays the airport card or they hang a windsock in relation to a fill operation, just separate the aviation component from the fill activity and deal with the fill.
And this is something that was touched upon by the Minister of Environment in their paper was the development of municipal fill strategies. So this deals with the whole issue about the municipal procurement process that was mentioned earlier, but it also deals with the whole issue of municipalities looking at what are their fill needs over the years in terms of infrastructure works. Is there a deficit, is there a surplus, and trying to balance that as well. And even potentially looking at, through their municipalities, should there be pre-identified fill sites identified in appropriate locations to minimize impacts.
We suggest considering putting conditions on development permits at the municipal level, such that required testing of excess soils is mandatory, and proper approvals and consent from local authorities where the fill is to be shipped is received prior to any building permit issued. This could decrease illegal dumping from brownfield development projects. It also has the potential to better address the quality of excavated soils from brownfields.
Under the Municipal Act, there's a provision that indicates that municipal site alteration bylaws have no effect in CA-regulated areas. So you've heard from the township at Scugog, and there are many townships throughout the GTA and beyond that have updated their site alteration bylaws to address a lot of these public concerns. Well, because they are no longer have effect in the CA areas, there's a bit of a gap there in terms of municipalities losing one tool that they can use to address these issues. Of course, even though site alteration bylaws have no effect in the CA regulated area, there are certainly other tools that municipalities can use to deal with some of these issues, such as noise bylaws and nuisance bylaws. Some of the other potential solutions that I don't know have been quite explored yet that may be considered would be amending the Municipal Act so that site alteration bylaws and CA regs apply throughout the watershed.
A comprehensive site alteration bylaw or fill policy for CAs is necessary.
In my opinion, from a political perspective, we can control and regulate fill from the site or from excavation to its final destination or its deposition. That's what we have to do. And I think a lot of folks up north of Steeles Avenue would be a lot more comfortable if they actually knew where the fill came from, what was in it, that it was safe, and that it was going to a place that was properly controlled. What we have to decide is, what are we going to do with that? Are we going to allow fill to be a problem that we all fight over and have a lot of grief and heartache and cost and conflict? Or are we going to try to, as best we can, minimize that conflict and maximize the opportunities? And one of the suggestions I'm putting forward is we can actually create a new series of nature sanctuaries across southern Ontario thanks to fill. And I don't think I would have been saying this 10 years ago, but I have seen a lot of amazing things, and I'm going to share just a few of them with you, and to let you know that there are many tools in the toolbox that we need, but part of it is when we look at that fill, the fill that we're going to have to provide for our residents and for the environment that we all love a net positive benefit. In fact, I would call them, if you can look at a fill site as a nature sanctuary, I think the whole discussion will change. And it'll take a lot of work because there's a lot of bad experiences out there and people have long memories, but I think you can turn things around. And I've just started off with a slide with Tommy Thompson Park or the Leslie Street Spit. This site has taken about 80 million cubic meters of fill, and more to come, which is now the poster child of a lot of environmental organizations, and we have people like the Ontario Naturalists, for example, leading nature hikes down in this area every single weekend. So people flock to this area now as a place of recreation and as a place of nature enjoyment. And if you look here, this is a globally significant, important bird area. You have to think of that. This is it. We've created in the city of Toronto an area that's globally significant out of dirt. I don't think we actually knew that we were going to do that when we started the project, but this is the result, and it shows you that something good can actually happen, especially if you plan it in advance and you try to do it right at the beginning.
We have an opportunity, as we discussed, to ensure that the fill goes to the right places for the right reasons. Placing fill with good drainage capabilities in an area that has drainage issues may in fact improve the use of the capability of that land. Placing fill with good water retention capability in an area that may also improve the use of that land by retaining moisture. And new land uses can be created with fill. Creating urban recreation activities such as ski hills is valid. Any of you that grew up in the Brampton area, you might have learned to ski or snowboard on Mount Chincoosy. Anybody from Brampton? So all you have to do is go there and you realize that Mount Chincoosy isn't a real mountain, but it is a real piece and a cultural entity and a big part of the recreation for the city of Brampton. So as much as we need to remember community relevance and what they need in those communities. This is a working vineyard in a working quarry in Vineland. This is a site that is owned by Walker Aggregates. The site's been rehabilitated to a vineyard after use, so it's actually producing wine and stone at the same time. There were additional soils brought into this area to plant the vines. That material, if it could have come from a fill opportunity from another site, that would have been a win-win. So those are the kinds of things I think we're looking at, increasing the capability of the soil with inert fill.
And the other thing is project design. We're digging holes, because we're changing grades, and we can do, if I'm a great admirer of our engineering capacity in this province, and I know that if you challenge an engineer with a problem about cut and fill, or the amount, or grades, the amount of dirt you have to move, if you put a restriction on them, they will come up with a clever, maybe a little expensive, but a clever way to solve that problem and not move as much material. But we don't. We tell that engineer, you know what? Don't worry about it. We'll just truck it away. We'll put it in trucks and the trucks go away. So then why do we have to move so much? Because it's cheaper to move than incorporate it into the design.
It's really excess because it can't be used at the site. It can't be remediated and reused at the site. It's soil that has to be moved. The ministry encourages reuse of that soil for many reasons, one of them being we don't want unnecessary disposal at landfills and using up our landfill capacity. So where that soil can be reused in an environmentally safe manner, and that's the key, I think that helps all of us. It also speaks to the use of temporary soil banking, and this goes back to if you can reuse it at the site, that's better than trucking loads of soil around the province. And so what we've got is in there, a temporary soil banking up to 2 years. Through the consultation process, we heard from a number of industry and others that they'd like to have that longer. They'd like to have up to 5 years. So what we've suggested in our best management practice document is 2 to 5 years, but if you're going beyond 2 years, we really want you to work with the local district office to make sure that you've got the proper procedures in place that won't impact where it's being placed.